Gigaverse.
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 Gigaverse. Gigaverse.
Welcome everybody to DadsGoneCrypto. We got a surprise for you guys. Meet Gigaverse, the on-chain RPG that caught 75,000 players and generated $4.5 million in game revenue and then hit $9 million in peer-to-peer trades. And the best part, you can play it right now on your browser.
Built on Abstract and powered by proof-of-play tech, it's simple enough for Uncle Jebediah and your niece Zelda, but deep enough for every crypto dad looking to grind some loot.
Joining us today is founder Dith, the mastermind behind Gigaverse. We talk dungeons, we talk fractions, we talk NFTs, and how a decentralized studio pulled this game off.
All right, dads, grab your flasks and let's dive into the Gigaverse.
All right, so Gigaverse started as a small passion project. Dith, how did it evolve into a fully decentralized game with 75,000 paying players? That's very impressive.
Yeah, so thanks for having us on, guys. Gigaverse started in like literally the most organic fashion possible. Myself and my co-founder, Garnish, we literally just wanted to build a game for ourselves, first and foremost. Grew up as gamers. He's an engineer. I'm a go-to-market guy. And it's just something that we hacked together like on weekends for a period of several months, just because we love building. It's, how we kind of express our creative energy. It was something that we were having fun with. We were both working full time on another game. That's how, that's where we met. And so, we started cooking Gigaverse on weekends. And then by the time it came, it was like ready to launch. We put it out there with no expectations. Company-wise, there's no business plan. There was no tooling. We literally just had like a private Discord server where we put all this together. But the traction was immediate. Like on day one, we had thousands of players signing up on day one itself. And it's kind of been nonstop ever since. So we pretty quickly realized like, hey, there's something here, and we need to put our full balls in and see how far we can take this thing. How big of a game can we build? And so that was about 6 months ago. 3 months after we launched, 3 weeks after we launched Gigaverse, we both quit our day jobs and been focusing on this full time ever since.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. That is that's some
Incredible.
super fast growth, especially from something you had no expectations for. So speaking of that, you ditched the traditional roadmaps for surprise updates. So how does that keep the community engaged, and how do you decide, what you guys are going to drop next?
Yeah, so we have this take that I think public roadmaps are a bit of an encumbrance, right? Because a roadmap, like a business plan, it's a good exercise to undertake, right? To think about what you're building and what the sequence is and what you're going to do next and how it all ties together. But crypto moves incredibly fast. We've seen the same actually in gaming, right? There's like trends in gaming, and preferences change, and what one generation likes as an experience versus another is very, very different. And so, we see having a roadmap as more of an encumbrance than anything else. And the path that we take, where there is no public roadmap, allows us to stay incredibly agile. We can chop and change priorities. We can change tack on a daily or weekly basis. If we're working on something that we're like, that doesn't really move the needle, that won't excite our players, let's just change our mind and do something else. So that's one major benefit. The second is that it doesn't build up any expectation debt with the community, where they're like, hey, you said this was coming like next month. Actually, we can just continuously surprise them with actually what's coming out. And it's just like a more enjoyable experience for everyone that way. Allows us to have a lot more fun, and lets them be pleasantly surprised every time we come out with something cool.
That's really cool. I mean, I guess that follows right from your beginning ethos there. You surprised everybody with a game and then now surprised with updates. That's cool.
Well, the way that we kind of see the building of the game itself, actually we have this broader view, like could say everything in life is a game, right? Everything is like a system, and you understand the rules of the system. How do you win at that system and so on. But building the game is in of itself a game for us. And the more that we enjoy this game, the better we're going to perform at it. And so we think a lot about like, how do we keep ourselves unencumbered and feeling just really free and having a lot of fun with what we're building. And yeah, our outlook is like, if we're having fun, then we think our players will too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you guys hit the nail on the head with the agile approach, because most projects are waterfall, so it's one after the other. And, when you put these expectations out and they hold you accountable, it doesn't matter. Even if the environment has changed, they still hold you accountable for that one milestone that you said. It is like, guys, this is no longer even relevant, but they want you to push it through. So being agile. And I think the second most important thing is having fun. And that speaks to anybody. If you're having fun, what you're doing, it's not really work. Yes, it's still hard and still late hours, but it's not as bad as, something that you really hate just because the communities are forcing things because of that waterfall system. So yeah, very, very cool. Just so, some dads that are coming in now and they're thinking, all right, cool, this is a crypto game. Can you just give an overview of what exactly you built and how does it vary from other games? And, like from an entry point of view, is it easy to get into the system?
Yes, we've tried to make it as easy as possible. I think, Ryan, as you said, we want your Uncle Jebediah or your little, your niece Zelda to be able to hop into the game and play it. So, as much as possible, we designed the interface of the game to be very legible. Like, you can just figure out what you need to do from what you're seeing on screen. We didn't want to send people down a rabbit hole of like, hey, you got to go read these docs and read this white paper to like understand how to play this game. The other design principle at play is nostalgia. Like, my co-founder's not a dad yet, but I am. I just had my second son was born like a month ago, and so we grew up in this like golden age of gaming, right? Like in the 80s and 90s, where gameplay mattered and like the juice of the moment, like a button feeling like really good, or a sound like being like really crunchy, or like the story being very, yeah, right,
higher uppercut,
right.
Higher uppercut.
This decades later, we're still Hadoukening each. I Hadouken my if I get together with like college friends and shit. Of course, we horse around, but this stuff like lasts decades. So we put a lot of love and care into the sort of just the aesthetic of the game, how a door sounds when it opens, or how a button feels when you click it, or how these little moments, sort of like how tactile they are kind of for the player. And if you're looking at the game, it will immediately take you back in time. It will immediately remind you of something that you may have played as a kid. And yeah, so we lean into that purposely. We think nostalgia is incredibly powerful. Yeah. And then there's a few other things, but I'll close with this like third design principle, which is, we're building primarily for this, what we'd say is like a crypto native gamer, or like an on-chain gamer. So it's someone who likes playing games, but they've already been onboarded to crypto. They, kind of already know what they're doing. To get into Gigaverse, you up until recently, you needed to own Ethereum. As of recently, we put a Stripe payment option, so you could enter with a credit card. But yeah, for the most part, our players are crypto native gamers, and so from a design perspective, they want to feel risk and reward, which is essentially what we've all signed up to when we come into crypto, right? The broader meta of crypto is like kind of taking a risk and feeling some sort of payoff, right? Well, it's like predicting. You're trying to predict if something's going to go up or down, or is this protocol going to be successful or not, and my yields and so on. So that has to factor into the game, but at a very small, level. So one example is you're trying to craft something, right? It's an RPG. You can craft items, but there's a chance that some of the crafts could fail, and if they fail, you lose your items. Now, not all crafting recipes have that kind of risk, but some items do. And so there's this like moment where as a player, you have to kind of decide, are you going to gamble on crafting this item? You could lose the ingredients, but if it works out, you get this cool item. So yeah, from a design perspective, we're introducing lots and lots of these sort of micro experiences of like risk and reward.
Oh, very cool.
All right. So just a follow-up question. What made Abstract the ideal chain for Gigaverse?
So we started speaking to chains back in October, November last year, 2024. and trying to just get a sense of like how they were thinking, how do they like support apps on the chain, and we saw a real spectrum of just because of answers and approaches and ideologies there. The thing that stood out to us about Abstract is they were very clear. They're like, look, we're thinking about the consumer experience first and foremost. We want to build an app store experience where people can come and discover really cool apps, including games like Gigaverse, and we want to send you traffic, and we want to help you find product market fit, and we want to help you make revenue. And we're like, okay, that's actually to us that sounded like the perfect answer. We heard all kinds of other versions and variations and dogmatic approaches about decentralization and the rest, which is important. But at the end of the day, we're a bootstrap startup. Like if we don't find PMF, forget everything else. Mm-hmm. And so they had the clearest and most direct answer to what we were looking for. And we were also like just really impressed with the team. There were other teams who, would be slow and unresponsive. It would take a day or two to get back to you. Whereas I remember having a call with the Abstract team on Christmas Eve, and they were like grinding as well. And we're like, all right, that's our vibe too. We love what we're doing, and we're not like kind of watching the clock or sorry, ping me next week. And yeah, we haven't looked back since. We launched Gigaverse, I think 2 weeks after Abstract went live, and as I say, it's like we found immediate traction, and we feel like we clearly made the right choice.
Wow, yeah, for sure. So let's talk about something you call Degenomics. How do ROM NFTs, energy caps, and upgrades keep the thrill alive in the game without turning it into pay to win?
So Gigaverse ROMs are like our sort of like our premier collectible in the game, like the sort of top or most important asset. Okay. It's a collection of 10,000, which is, just kind of a heuristic everyone understands at this stage. We minted the ROMs a couple of weeks just before the game went live. And yeah, as you point out, they kind of have this utility in the game that gives players a bit of an edge. That utility, very briefly, is it gives players energy, it gives them rare resources. And without diving into what all that means, the bottom line is essentially players who hold a ROM have a bit of an economic edge in the game. There's maybe certain things that they can do to a greater extent or to a quicker extent, or by spending less money than someone without a ROM. So they kind of open this like interesting trading metagame, or they play into the economic metagame around the game itself. And we have to recognize that our player set, these kind of crypto native gamers, trading is like one of the games that they love most, and that they spend their time. They'll be trading outside of games, right? You're trading coins, perps, prediction markets, whatever. And so like ROMs just kind of let the holders of ROMs are able to like lean into that side of the game even more. And we see our players calculating based on the market prices of these items. There's like an APY for the ROMs. It goes up or down. It changes as we ship different updates, and it depends on supply and demand of the materials. So it really lets those players, those holders of the ROMs, like lean into that side of the game.
Oh, very cool.
And speaking of trading, is this a valid figure? $9 million in trades? Can you verify that? And also tell us about the deflationary auction model. How do these connect long term for the sustainability of the project?
Yeah, for sure. I think now the total trading volume across all game assets is more than 9 mil. It may be closer to 11 mil at this point, if I had to shoot from the hip. Across all of our collections and game items. And we think that's going to increase over time as more players come into the game, and we're like consciously thinking about features that encourage trading. As I was saying, like, we know our players enjoy this. It's kind of like a meta game within the game. So we want to give them more reasons and context to trade. As for the auctions, that actually applies to another collection that we have, which my avatar here, my PFP belongs to, called GLHFers, which within certain game, well, I think this is pretty prevalent throughout gaming, but definitely I grew up playing a strategy game called StarCraft. And at the start of every game, you would wish your opponent, GLHF, good luck, have fun. It's kind of just like a good manner, right? Like kind of wishing them and yourself to just have a fun match.
Right.
So this is actually how everything started. I launched the Good Luck Have Funners collection about a year before Gigaverse, and again, it was a no roadmap, no promises PFP collection. But despite having no roadmap, we still put in like a few really cool mechanics, and the auction mechanic is one of them. The way that it works basically is when the collection minted out, we announce like, hey, actually, this collection's not fully minted. There's 150 pieces remaining. And so I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, why? Well, what are these like final 150 pieces for? And we said, look, they're going to be one of ones that we auction very slowly over time. If you guys are familiar with the Nouns auction system, right? They kind of pioneered this daily auction where one piece is auctioned per day, and it built up this like massive treasury for Nouns. So that's what we're doing with the final 150 pieces of our NFT collection. They're auctioned very slowly over time. All of them are one-of-one characters, and they come with a cool ability. And then what do we do with the auction funds? Well, they're used to buy and burn the floor of the collection. So that's been happening already. The last 10 auctions, I think they went for something like 120 ETH altogether. And the total amount of NFTs that have been bought and burned through this auction flywheel is, I think it's around 420 now.
Oh, wow.
So more than 10% of the collection has been burned, and we still have 100 and something auctions to go. So our goal is like to keep running these auctions, but to surprise people when they go live, and to do them in small batches. We may do like one auction now, or we may do a batch of 3 or a batch of 7. But again, it's just another game within our game. And so that's like something we talk a lot about. We like to have like multiple games within the game, and you can be playing one or many of those different games. And so there's many different ways for you to speculate and or win in our ecosystem.
Wow. Does that take place in the game itself?
It doesn't. Not for the simple reason that the game runs on Abstract, and the GLHFers collection is not on Abstract. It's on Ethereum L1.
Okay.
It would be cool to do that eventually. The way that we've bridged the gap right now is that some of the one-of-ones that have been auctioned do have a special ability in the game. So there was a batch of 7 that we auctioned, which we call them Masters of the Gigaverse, and they act as a skin factory within the game, meaning the holders of those NFTs every week get sent a special skin. And those skins right now are being valued in the market at something like 0.8 ETH, 0.9 ETH. So it's just, I mean, for the holders of those NFTs, it's it's a little money printer for them.
Yeah. Which makes the others rare, because then what else, basically could you be getting? It's I can see the intrigue.
There's an auction that we did a month ago for a character who was, obviously you guys know Tom Lee, right? Who's just very popular man right now for what he's helping kind of usher in this Ethereum renaissance. So we auctioned a character named ROM Lee, obviously based on the ROMs, and his auction went for something like 11 or 12 ETH. But his ability is that he's going to use the funds from his auction to sweep. He's going to sweep the ROMs collection and send. I think it's like 60% go to the final bidder, and 30% go to the third highest bidder. So his auction, the game people were trying to play is like, oh, if you end up being the third highest bidder, you get like a bunch of ROMs for free. If you end up being the highest bidder, you get 60% of what he sweeps. Anyway, so he hasn't swept yet. That's going to happen at some point, but nobody knows when.
Wow, that's amazing. That's very cool. So Gigaverse, checking it out, it feels designed for both the casual gamers and crypto pros. So what design choices did you guys make to make that balance possible?
Oh, yeah, good question. I think it's like... it's a continuous balancing act, because Yeah, we do want to have. I mean, ultimately, Gigaverse. The meaning of Gigaverse is like a universe of universes, right? So it's meant to be this like really big, sprawling, unpredictable world of worlds where it's like an everlasting game, and we can introduce like all kinds of stuff, and the story evolves, and we'd love to still be building this game in like a decade, right? So accessibility is really important to us. We want someone who doesn't have a lot of time or doesn't have a lot of money to still be able to come into this game and participate in a meaningful way and have fun. At the same time, we recognize that when you build a game for crypto natives, there's some folks who just really want to whale out. They love what they're doing. They have disposable income. They're like, let me buy stuff. Let me participate in size. The range at which our players participate, the monetary range right now, is every player to enter the game. There's a kind of like you mint your character. There's like a sign up fee or an install fee, which costs about $20 worth of Ethereum. And if you're really leaning in, you're buying ROMs, you're buying skins, and the rest. We have some players who've probably spent up to $5,000-$10,000. There's some mega whales and collectors who buy a lot of ROMs that probably spent. I don't know. I think some folks have gone over six figures worth of assets they've collected around Gigaverse. So the spread is extremely wide there. And I think so far the balance is pretty good. It's just something that we have to really stay on top of, and we're very mindful of with every new update that comes out, trying to look at both ends of the spectrum in terms of player sizes and like kind of financial commitment to the game.
That's great. That's the way to do it. Keep new guys engaged and don't lose your old guys, right?
Yeah, and it's just like we're very data oriented from day one when we launched the game. Even though, as I say, it was kind of this runaway surprise success from day one. Just out of habit, my co-founder installed analytics from day one. It's good practice and out of habit.
Yeah.
So we've had analytics from day one. We've been very data oriented, just to actually as much as we like to trust our intuition and apply experience and all that good stuff. Like if you have data, you need to use it, and let that inform your decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of data and building communities and faction wars, you guys have something like I think 7 factions, an overlord, I think named Gigus Maximus. What's with the recent daily deals features, Athena shards? How are these evolving the faction dynamics and shaping the meta?
Yeah, so the factions are. I mean, it's cool because the community is kind of like building out some of their own. They're speculating around lore and what they mean. We've kept the lore around factions relatively light, but for anyone not playing the game yet, there's essentially sort of 7 sort of different. Think of them as kind of like tribes or clans that you would like align yourself with, and each has kind of a character, a figurehead at the top of that tribe, and those characters are the ones I mentioned earlier, the masters of the Gigaverse, who are the skin factories. And so like the faction gameplay actually is like a way for us to introduce, well, firstly, this is part of the story unfolding where the community will like understand why they're factions, who are these characters, are some of them like good or bad, or like what's their backstories, all that will kind of unfold over time. But it also kind of creates like, for example, we have weekly competitions where different factions are competing against each other, but members within a single faction are also competing against a shared leaderboard. So you're trying to win within your own faction. There's certain materials that members of one faction need to craft certain items that are different from members of another faction. So it kind of creates this, let's say, lore-driven background context to encourage trading and bartering, and becomes part of the story that will unfold. And as you pointed out, there's this other character as well, Gigus Maximus, who's kind of like the architect of Gigaverse. He's the creator. And again, we don't know too much there. But he's going to play an actual, he'll have a role in the gameplay. He's not being activated yet, so none of this is in the game yet. But the idea is for him to orchestrate like a social meta layer where, for example, he could be offering specific players certain deals. He may be trying to manipulate the market. He may be trying to like corner supply of something. He may be trying to like stoke some beef between 2 different factions to create like a faction war between them. But he's a much more interesting villain than like a classic two-dimensional bad guy. The idea with Gigus is that ultimately what he wants to try to do is control the game economy and get players doing his bidding. So he's a lot more sort of Machiavellian and a lot more sort of cunning and sinister, and he's kind of playing 4D chess rather than being just a sort of like a plain old bad Bond villain type character.
That's really cool. And you have that, like you said, the lore is pretty light. Is there, like, you've got this planned out to, over time bring that in and bring a little more of the lore in with it?
Yeah, definitely. There's a balancing act where we know players, they want to see kind of what's the official canon, the official lore, but you got to leave room for people to fill in the gaps or to speculate. We think many of the world's best sort of worlds and IPs and stories have done this like just tremendously well. If you look at the original Star Wars trilogy, you look at like Lord of the Rings, look at Warhammer. There's always like certain answers that aren't available yet, and pockets of these gaps where like the community can fill them in until they are officially filled in, and maybe they never actually are. So it's always kind of like this kind of like fun part. And I actually consider that like just another game within the game, which some community members really love.
That's very cool.
So just speculating, and you can blink twice if I'm right. Is it Gigus Maximus?
It could be. It could be.
All right. I think he blinked, right? I think he blinked.
from like a depth of character, like a perspective, yeah, I would say, yeah. From just being just very interesting, and you're engaged no matter what.
Yeah.
That's cool. So GLHFers runs like a decentralized studio. How do you coordinate creativity and production without a traditional hierarchy within the studio?
So when we launched, there was this kind of meme that I felt like was like a good representation of how we were operating. And do you remember, if you remember at the last Olympics, there was a Turkish shooter, like a pistol shooter. You know the guy I'm talking about? Yusuf Dicek or something like that. I'm probably butchering his name. That legend, right? Who just kind of like rocked up like in his like dad jeans and like t-shirt.
No eyepiece, nothing.
No gear.
Right.
And honestly, that's how we built the game. Like it was literally I don't know how many live calls that we even had within the team. As I say, my co-founder was we had an awesome artist who's been with us from the beginning. He designed GLHFers, designed Gigaverse. So the three of us, and then there was a fourth, an additional engineer joined us. But I think we may have had like 1 or 2 live calls. There was no documentation. It was literally like a Discord channel that we did all of this. And so it felt very much like that guy Yusuf rocking up and somehow doing pretty well, even without kind of all the gear.
Right.
As time has gone on, at this point, the game is larger and there's way more systems involved, and our team has expanded a bit as well. I think at this point we're 8 full-time, a couple of contractors and part-timers helping us out as well. And so you need some basic systems in place to like just stay coordinated, stay efficient. So we have a bit of tooling, like, we use a tool called like Linear where people track their work, and we have a few syncs, pretty short syncs, 20 minutes on like Monday and Wednesday and Friday. We keep it very, very light. Generally the ethos is like we try to bring in to the team people who get it, people who are self-motivated, who don't need like hand-holding and monitoring or to be shown or told what good looks like. They already know. And where we just feel like there's like a strong alignment for the shared vision. So it's like playing in a band, where if you're to kind of jam or do some improvisation, your bandmates kind of already know what you're thinking and where you're going to go with your solo or where, or kind of whatever. And like I think as big as the game gets, we want to keep the team this may be the largest we ever get, right?
Wow.
We're doing this thing called atomic scaling, which is trying to create as most value as we can with as few people and as few resources as possible. I don't actually think that like increasing the team size helps us move faster or build a better product. In fact, it may make it harder for us to do so. By keeping the team very, very lean, we can move very, very quickly and not introduce any of the communication overhead or other bureaucratic stuff that just typically creeps in as companies scale.
Makes a lot of sense.
You make it sound so easy. It's like, but in looking for talent and in looking for these gems of people that share the same vision, it's not easy, right? So did they find you? Did they see that were you operating in a field or environment where these people were, or did you go out and say, I like these people, come join the party?
So I think at this point, most folks on the team were hired via the community. When we launched GLHFers as this no roadmap, no expectations PFP collection, we did have a small community of, I don't know, it's probably like literally just 10 or 20 people who hung out in a Discord together for the best part of the year, while unbeknownst to them, we quietly built the game Gigaverse. And so, there wasn't like, we didn't have like a crazy ripping WAGMI, like great floor price or anything. We just had the shared interest in gaming, and these people were like hanging out and were there along for the journey. And so, I'll call out two people that we hired this way. Eyes, who does, he runs growth for us. He actually was like bidding on the auctions, the initial set of auctions. And back then, nobody cared. So back then, our auctions weren't fetching 10 ETH. I think he won his one of one for 0.2 ETH.
Wow.
And he just wanted it. He liked the art. He wanted the character. His character is Zeus, as in, the Greek sort of Chad god. And then another member of our community, Harambe, he was just like always hang out and chat. He was like everyone's friend, and he was just like life and soul of the party. When we launched Gigaverse, he, like on his own accord, people had questions about the game and we were troubleshooting, and he just jumped into chat, and he was just like helping like answer people, sort them out, direct them, just being like all hands on deck. No one asked him to do that. He did it off his own accord. So I pinged him a couple of days later. I was like, hey man, I see like what you're doing, and it's awesome and it's very appreciated. And how about we like why don't we firm this up? Do you want to like come on board and be our community guy? He said, hell yeah. And yeah, so I think through what was the saying about like, you can have this like overnight success, but you don't see the work that's gone in prior. So a lot of that is kind of what set us up to find people, or for them to find us. And it's made it very, very easy, in both the case of Eyes and Harambe, who I just mentioned, like, I can't imagine us hiring anyone else. It just wouldn't have felt right. Like, why go off and hire some mercenary who's just like randomly applied to our job application, knows nothing about us, versus the homegrown organic guy who's seen the journey, is really passionate about it. And the last point is that believed in us before we had any real traction, right? As time went on, the market got to know, hey, okay, this game is like revenue generating, and this, players are liking it, and reviews are good, and and now they've just raised like some money from VCs. But what I love about the team that we were able to hire before all of this is they independently built their own conviction in us, right? Before the market confirmed that for them. And I think that means a hell of a lot to teams like ours, right? Well, hey, you believed before anyone else did. I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. That's an amazing way to get some very loyal people on your team.
Yeah, down in the trenches before anything was where it is today. It speaks a lot. Moving along to creator programs and community growth, right? So you've launched the Giga Creators program. How are you empowering streamers, artists, and lore builders to help expand this universe?
So this is the brainchild of Eyes, who I just mentioned. When he came on board, I said, look, I want us to go very grassroots on creators. A few principles I want you to work with, but let you set this up and execute how you want. And so what are those principles? Number one was I didn't want any LARPs or any mercenaries. I only want us to engage creators who are actually playing the game, who are already playing the game, right? Before they were like, hey, there's some cool setup or opportunity to be part of this creator program. Like they were kind of already, this was already like part of their existing behavior and interests, which really sets them up for success. Because if you're using the product and you like the product, creating content around it becomes very easy. If you don't play the game and you don't like the game, you're not staying up to date with it, then like God help you. Any content that you create is going to feel is much more. It's like labor involved for you to try to stay up to date and figure out what it is. And the audience, like on the timeline, it's not stupid either. They're going to feel like, oh, this is very inauthentic because it's very surface level content. But our players, our power players, who are also content creators, can go very, very deep on the guides and the talking about like ROM emissions and all this stuff. They build spreadsheets, and it's gone a little bit further than creators now. We actually have an ecosystem of builders as well who are like creating these awesome tools. Anyway, we set out a bunch of principles that we wanted to follow, and then in the most organic manner, like Eyes reached out to folks who were playing the game, already creating a bit of content, and said, look, I'm putting this framework together. We get to create content. There's some very light incentives around it. Again, purposely, we didn't want to go too heavy on incentives for that to be like the reason that you'd create content. And then the final thing that I think we just do a little bit differently is you look at many of these programs and there's like a very sweaty set of requirements, making it feel like a job. Like, hey, we want you to post 3 times a week and cross your T's, dot your I's, and the rest. And I think we treat creators like grown-ups and say, like, you're here for a reason. We feel there's a strong fit. You're playing the game anyway. So we're a lot more laissez-faire with them, and saying like, create content to your heart's content. We'd love to see like, ideally a couple of things every month. You want to go harder, great. And if you're like busy, you're traveling this month, that's also fine. And feedback from creators is like they actually prefer it, that we're just like trusting, and we like there's no tight reins around the requirements there, which is funny because we do see that with some other games, but in terms of the output of our creators, we've actually achieved greater mindshare, just kind of trusting them to execute at a cadence and at a frequency that suits them.
That's excellent. So switching gears just a bit, you guys just recently raised $2 million led by One Confirmation. So with all that little cash injection there, what's next? What are you guys building?
Yeah, the funny thing is we almost didn't raise because we're in this great position where we don't need the money. We received funds and haven't needed them since. They're generating yield for us, which is kind of cool and surreal. And our round was also oversubscribed. We ended up taking as little money as we could at this point.
Wow.
Thinking that like later down the line, if we need to raise more money, we'll be in an even stronger position. So why take the dilution now? The reason we raised from One Confirmation is that they're just an awesome fund. They are operators themselves. They get it. Everyone right now they're on everyone's radar because of Polymarket, which is, just had some incredible news. But that aside, through the conversations, we met them and just felt strong alignment. And as I say, like even prior to concluding the deal, they were leaning in and adding value. And we're like, okay, so we don't need the money, but having a really strong partner in this process who has the network, who has the know-how, who brings all these other things to the table is valuable. So it doesn't really change a lot from our operating, some of those operating principles I mentioned earlier. Like we don't suddenly want to scale the team up, double, triple the size of the team, start spending like crazy. We're still going to do guerrilla tactics, very organic, sort of trench level work, building community, retaining players, shipping surprisingly cool updates, and keeping the team very lean. But now we have this like great extra war chest that for some reason we want to go like really aggressive on a certain opportunity, we have extra dry powder there. And yeah, it just keeps kind of options open. At the end of the day, we do want to build like a meaningful company that has really cool and loved products. And I think if you're gonna do that, there are examples of teams that were able to bootstrap it all the way, but in the majority of cases, it takes a village, so to speak. And so we felt we were kind of like getting the best of all worlds here and keeping our options open for down the line as well.
That's great.
Dith, with any game, there's always opportunities to try cheat, to maybe not use the word cheat, to get an advantage, right? Some advantages are exploited, but when you start to add money to a game or crypto to a game, then, the playing field changes quite a bit. So, with all the battles and items, the drops are on chain, but how do you handle the security, the bots, and the fairness as you scale?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. First is that my co-founder and I had a bunch of experience working on another fully on-chain game. And so we learned a lot firsthand about Sybils, about bots, about attempted exploits, and so on. We made a number of very specific design decisions around the game. Gigaverse is not fully on-chain. It's partially on-chain. So we're deciding on a feature-by-feature basis what goes on-chain and what doesn't. Most gamers, they don't care, right? How the design decision under the hood. They want to have a fun experience. They want fair trading. They don't want exploits. They don't want to be completely diluted by bots. So we decide what goes on chain and what doesn't. That allows us to have the best of both worlds. We implemented from day one a sign-up fee. No one's been able to come into Gigaverse without skin in the game. Everyone has had to pay to join the game, which kind of like raises the bar or the overall floor of the participation in the game economy. And at the same time, we're recognizing like where the world is heading. Like AI is a massive paradigm shift for many different industries. Gaming is no exception to that. And we're probably already at a point that you cannot determine whether a player is a human being or is it AI behind those actions in the game. So we actually designed our features and our game economy with that in mind. It doesn't work to try to catch every Sybil. So you actually have to design your game systems and your economy in a resilient manner, able to, hey, if there's a single player, single account player coming in, can they still have fun? Can they still find ROI or arbitrage in the trading metagame? And same, if someone for some reason wants to create 10 accounts or 20 accounts or more, they don't ruin the economy for everyone else. There's maybe some edge if they have the tools and the means to create those kind of accounts, but everything in balance. And so it comes back to some of the stuff I was mentioning earlier around tracking data and at the same time trying to actually build in a resilient way that doesn't kind of play into these losing battles we've seen play out with other games in crypto.
Oh, that's really, really great. So, but what if we look ahead 1 year? What is the dream headline that you'd love to see about Gigaverse and the community?
Well, we're unashamedly saying we want to be the number one crypto game. And I think, in the near term, the category of crypto game literally means games that look and feel like Gigaverse, like obviously like it's within the gaming category. But longer term, like you could consider many verticals or crypto. I have this view that crypto is like an MMO. So probably at the time that we're maybe a little bit further out than a year, but we would actually like to be considered a top game amongst the broader category of games within crypto. Shorter term, within this year, it's like let's try to be the number one crypto game.
That's very cool.
All right, Dith, thank you very, very much. A huge thank you walking us through the Gigaverse with picture and nostalgia, meeting blockchain innovation. It was an absolute treat for us today. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun having you on and learning all about Gigaverse. So, guys, if you want to learn more and you want to play, head over to gigaverse.io and you can play right from your browser. And then after you do it, get into the comments here and let us know what your favorite faction is.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dith. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks a lot, Dith.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us on, guys. Really enjoyed the conversation.
We'll see you next time. Take care, guys.
Take care, guys. Ciao.
The material and information presented in this recording are for entertainment purposes only. Do not misconstrue what you hear as investment or trading advice. Always do your own research. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the guests on this recording are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of DadsGoneCrypto or its hosts.